The moment I stepped into the towering glass building in downtown Seattle, I knew I was in trouble. Not because the job was difficult, but because fate clearly had a twisted sense of humor. By the time I reached the 32nd floor, I was already praying that the rumors weren't true. They were. And the first shock hit me so hard it knocked the air from my lungs. My new boss, the freshly appointed director of the entire division, was the same boy who once held my heart as if it were something fragile and sacred. The same boy whose absence had nearly destroyed me 6 years ago. Adrian Hale. His name alone carried the sharpness of memory, like the sting left behind after touching something too hot. We met once, at 17, when the world felt big and small at the same time. We ended in a silence that never made sense. And now he stood before me again, polished, powerful, terrifyingly composed. But I wasn't ready for the second shock. He looked at me like he had been waiting. The first 2 seconds stretched painfully long. His mouth parted, then tightened. His jaw clenched, then relaxed. Finally, his voice slipped out in a low, almost dangerous whisper. Kai! My name burned in the air between us. I swallowed the knot in my throat. Hello, sir. Sir. That word tasted so wrong in my mouth that I nearly winced. A flicker crossed his eyes, not hurt, not anger, but something between regret and longing. Something that said he heard the distance I was forced to put there. Something that said he wasn't ready for it. But I wasn't ready either. 6 years had turned the gentle boy I knew into a man who wore authority like a second skin. His suit fit too well. His confidence was too natural. His presence was too overwhelming. And my heart reacted before my brain could stop it. A single heavy thump, then another, then a painful avalanche of everything I thought I had buried. I hated that he still had that power. He cleared his throat and turned away, but not before I noticed the faint tremor in his fingers. It was quick, subtle, but it was their proof that he wasn't unaffected either. Let's discuss your new role, he said, his voice steadier than his hands. Follow me. I followed, like an idiot, through the glass corridors, past rows of desks and curious coworkers. My pulse matched the rhythm of my footsteps. I tried to force myself into professional mode, focus on the job, ignore the past, pretend that the man in front of me wasn't the boy I once kissed beneath a willow tree by the lake. But memories betrayed me. 6 years hadn't erased anything. When he opened the door to his office, I stepped inside and felt the ghost of my 17-year-old self whispering in my ear. Never thought you'd see him again. Did you? His office was large, modern, colder than I expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the room in white daylight, reflecting off silver-lined furniture. Everything screamed power. Everything screamed Adrian. He remained standing, watching me in a way that felt too intimate for employer and employee. So, he began quietly. How have you been? I forced a smile. I'm good. Ready to start. Kai. His voice dipped, softer, more personal. That's not what I asked. My breath caught. I hated that he could still see through me. I hated that I wanted him to. I've been fine, I replied. Life. It happens. He studied me for a moment too long. Yeah, he murmured. It does. Silence pressed between us, heavy, charged, unspoken. There were 1,000 questions in his eyes. Where did you go? Why didn't you reach out? Did I hurt you more than I realized? Did you ever think of me? I refused to read them. I refused to answer them. We should review your responsibilities, I said quickly. His lips curved, not a smile, not amusement, but something bittersweet. Of course, he said. Work first. But as he walked closer, handing me a file, the faint scent of cedarwood hit me. The same cologne he once stole from his older brother when he wanted to smell more mature. And just like that, memories flooded back without mercy. Adrian laughing as he tackled me into the grass. Adrian's hand brushing mine in the back seat of his old blue sedan. Adrian whispering my name like it meant something more than anything else in the world. I steadied my breath, fighting the sudden ache in my chest. This was supposed to be a new chapter in my life, not a resurrection of a past I barely survived. But destiny didn't care about my plans. He handed me the file, his fingers brushing mine barely an inch of contact, yet it felt like lightning. He stiffened. I froze. A flicker passed between us, unmistakable, undeniable. I looked up at him. He was already looking at me, and in that moment, everything I had tried to outrun came crashing back. Adrian still loved me, or he had never stopped. But the problem was simple, cruel, and terrifying. I didn't know whether to run from him or run to him. The first week working under Adrian was complicated. Not disastrous. Not unbearable, just an emotional hurricane wrapped in a three-piece suit. He was professional, coldly so. But beneath that professionalism was something restless. Something that pushed and pulled whenever he walked past me. There were moments he acted like I was a stranger he barely tolerated. Moments he acted like he wanted to ask me 1,000 questions. Moments he accidentally stared at me too long, then pretended he hadn't. And then there were moments when I caught his reflection in the glass walls, watching me with a softness I didn't know how to process. Every day felt like a tug-of-war between what we were and what we had become. I tried to act unaffected, tried to pretend this was normal, tried to convince myself that I didn't still think about how his lips felt on mine 6 years ago. But everything changed the evening we stayed late to finalize a major pitch. The office was empty, the city lights glowing against the windows, the hum of nighttime silence settling over us like a blanket. I was reviewing data on the conference table when I felt his presence behind me, not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel. "You work too hard," he murmured. "So do you," I replied. His breath hitched softly. "I always did." I turned to look at him. He wasn't wearing his usual armor of authority. His tie was loosened, his hair slightly messy, his eyes unguarded. For the first time since our reunion, I saw the Adrian I used to know. The real one, the gentle one, the one who once promised he'd never walk away. Something inside me cracked. "Adrian," I whispered, voice trembling. "Why are you acting like nothing happened?" He looked at me as if I had ripped open an old wound he'd been trying to cauterize for years. "Because," he said slowly, "I don't know if I have the right to ask what happened." My heart tightened. "You left." His expression shattered. "No," he whispered. "Kai, you're the one who disappeared. You didn't even give me a chance to explain." The room tilted. My breath faltered. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. He stepped closer, each word trembling with pain he had carried for too long. "I waited for you. Days. Weeks. I called you. I emailed you. I even went to your house. Your mom told me you moved out the same morning you left me at the lake." My entire body went cold. "What? You broke up with me," he said. "At least, that's what your note said." My heart collapsed inside my chest. "I never wrote a note." His eyes widened, horror replacing the anger. "What?" The air thinned. Silence suffocated the space between us. Someone had lied. Someone had taken our relationship and torn it apart before we could fight for it. But who and why? Adrian ran a hand through his hair, pacing, breath unsteady. "All these years, I thought you hated me." My voice cracked. "I thought you abandoned me." He froze. We stared at each other, the weight of 6 lost years pressing down on our shoulders. The truth felt too heavy to carry. The pain felt too fresh to touch. And before either of us could speak again, the power flickered and the office went dark. Only the city skyline lit up the room, casting shadows across his face. In that half-light, he whispered the words that broke me. "Kai, if I had known you didn't leave me on purpose, if I had known, I would have never stopped looking for you." His voice trembled. "For 6 years, I've been trying to forget you." He took one slow, aching step toward me. But I couldn't. My heart was a fist beating against my ribs. Every breath hurt. Every memory stung. "Adrian." He reached out hesitant, afraid, his hand hovering near mine. "Tell me," he whispered, voice raw. "If I touch you, will you pull away?" I looked at him, at the man I once loved, at the boy I lost, at the future I wasn't sure I deserved. And before my fear could stop me, I gave him the smallest, most devastating truth. I don't know. He closed his eyes. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a reunion. This was the beginning of a storm neither of us knew how to survive. The darkness in the office wrapped around us like a secret neither of us was ready to confront. The only light came from the glowing city outside, shimmering through the glass walls like scattered fragments of truth we had spent years avoiding. The silence was heavy, stretching between us with the weight of 6 years of pain, confusion, and longing. Adrian stood so close now that I could hear his breathing, uneven and raw. For a moment, neither of us dared to move, as if any sudden shift would break whatever fragile thread was keeping us tethered in this suspended moment. His hand was still hovering near mine. I stared at it, at the faint tremble in his fingers, at the tension in his entire arm. It wasn't the gesture of a man confident in his power. It was the gesture of someone terrified of losing something he had never stopped loving. "Kai," he whispered, my name slipping through the dark like a prayer. "I need to know what you're thinking." I swallowed hard. The words were there, but tangled. Memories fought with reality, fear clashing with desire. "I'm thinking," my voice cracked. "I'm thinking that this is the worst possible place and time for this conversation." A faint, breathless laugh escaped him. "Probably. But when have we ever been good at timing?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was, timing had always been the villain in our story. The thing that stole us from each other before we understood what we had. He took a slow step closer, and this time the gap between us vanished. His chest rose and fell inches from mine. I could feel the warmth of him, the familiar rhythm of his presence. It hit me so hard it was almost a physical blow. "We need to talk," he murmured. "Really talk." "I know." His eyes searched mine in the dim light. "Then tell me why you left. Tell me why you disappeared." I forced myself not to look away. "Because I thought you chose your future over me. Because you told me you'd gotten into the program in New York, and the next morning, there was a note in my mailbox saying we were done. That you didn't want to drag me along when you had bigger things to focus on." His face twisted, pain flashing across his expression. "That wasn't me. Kai, I swear, I know," I whispered. "Now I know." He drew in a shaky breath. "Then why didn't you call me? Why didn't you try to find me?" "Because I thought you didn't want me," I said. The words tasted like old wounds. "I thought you had already moved on." A harsh exhale left his chest. "I waited for you." My heart tightened. I waited too. The darkness pressed heavier. Adrian brushed a hand over his face, pacing for a moment as if he needed to physically shake off 6 years of torment. Then he stopped and looked at me again, eyes blazing with something fierce and vulnerable. "Who would do this?" he asked. "Who would take your note, or write another, or whatever happened that day? Who would want to break us apart?" "I don't know," I whispered. I thought about it so many times over the years, but nothing ever made sense. A brief silence fell. Then his jaw tightened. "My mother." I froze. "What?" "She never liked us together," he said quietly. "She always thought I was distracted, that I would ruin my future if I didn't stay focused. She found out about us near the end. I didn't want to believe she would do something that cruel, but..." He swallowed. "She had access to everything. My room, my desk, my laptop, your number, everything." A cold realization washed over me. "Adrian." He stepped closer, voice trembling. "If she did this to us, if she sabotaged everything we had, then we lost 6 years because of her," I finished softly. His eyes closed, pain flashing through his features so raw my chest burned just looking at him. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so damn sorry, Kai." Before I could answer, a clap of thunder echoed outside, startling both of us. Rain began to patter against the giant windows, soft at first, then heavier. The sky darkened even more, wrapping Seattle in a storm that felt almost too perfectly timed. The lights flickered, still dead. Adrian let out a breath. "Great. Storm on the one night we needed light." I forced a small smile. "We don't need light right now." He blinked at me, something shifting in his eyes. Kai! But before he could continue, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. We both stiffened. Then came voices. 2 janitors laughing about something trivial. Their presence pulled the world back into motion, shattering the fragile intimacy of the moment. Adrian stepped back, his expression snapping into something neutral, distant. The boss mask. I hated how quickly he could put it on. We should wrap up, he said quietly. It's getting late. Yeah. He walked toward the door, but paused, hand resting on the frame. Kai, he said without turning around. This conversation isn't over. My heart thudded. I know. He hesitated. Then he looked over his shoulder, eyes soft in a way that undid me completely. Don't disappear again. Not until we figure this out. My breath caught. I won't. For the first time since we reunited, he gave a small, fragile smile. Good. Then he left. I stood alone in the dim light, surrounded by shadows and ghosts of memories that suddenly meant something again. My heart was a mess. My mind was chaos. And damn fate was laughing somewhere. I gathered my things slowly, replaying every word, every look, every tremor in his voice. The storm outside raged harder, thunder rumbling through the building as if echoing the storm inside me. Adrian hadn't stopped loving me. He thought I had left him, and someone had destroyed what we had on purpose. The truth was more painful and more comforting than I expected. I took the elevator down, the building eerily quiet. As I stepped outside under the awning, rain pouring down in sheets, a harsh gust of wind whipped against my face. I wrapped my jacket tighter and stepped toward the sidewalk. Kai! I turned. Adrian was running after me, suit jacket soaked, hair dripping with rain. He stopped in front of me, breathless, eyes blazing with something wild and unrestrained. You didn't say goodbye. The words hit me like a punch. Adrian, you didn't have to come down here. Yes, I did, he said, stepping closer, rain streaming down his face. I'm not doing this again. I'm not letting you walk away without words. Heat rushed through me, mixing with the cold rain. We're not 17 anymore. I know, he said, but he cut himself off, shaking his head. I don't even know what to say right now. Then don't, I whispered. Not until we're ready. He stared at me for a long, breathless moment. Then he nodded. Let me give you a ride home. It wasn't a question, and I didn't have the strength to refuse. The car ride was quiet, the soft hum of the engine blending with the steady drumming of rain on the windshield. Streetlights cast passing glows across his face, highlighting the tension in his jaw, the focus in his eyes. We didn't speak until he pulled up in front of my apartment complex. He didn't unlock the doors. Instead, he turned toward me slowly. Kai, he said softly, I need you to know something. My chest tightened. What? His voice was barely above a whisper. You're not the only one who got hurt. I felt the words sink deep. I know, I murmured. His fingers curled around the steering wheel, knuckles white. I thought you chose to leave me behind. I thought I wasn't enough. I thought I lost you because I failed you. That's not what happened, I said quickly. Adrian, you didn't fail me. He exhaled shakily. Kai. He hesitated, then spoke with quiet desperation. I'm scared that if we try to fix this, we'll just break again. I met his eyes, steady and certain. We broke because someone forced us apart. Not because we weren't good enough. He inhaled sharply, as if swallowing back years of regret. Lightning split the sky outside, illuminating the interior of the car. His face softened. I don't want to lose you again, he whispered. Even if I don't know what we are now. I didn't know either, but I knew my heart had never stopped reacting to him. Then don't lose me, I said, voice trembling. Don't push me away. He looked at me like he wasn't sure he deserved that. Then he reached out gently, brushing a raindrop from my cheek, a raindrop that wasn't from the rain. I hadn't even realized I was crying. The touch was soft, reverent, devastating. Kai, he whispered. I'm right here. My heartbeat stuttered. I forced myself to breathe. "We can fix this," I whispered. "But we need the truth first." He nodded slowly. "I'll find it," he promised. "I'll talk to her." "Adrian, no," he said firmly. "She stole 6 years of my life from me. 6 years I should have had with you." His voice trembled on the last words. The storm outside softened to a gentle drizzle, as if reflecting the shift inside the car. Adrian leaned back, eyes closing for a moment. He looked exhausted, vulnerable, human. "Good night, Kai," he murmured. "Text me when you're inside." I nodded, unable to trust my voice. As I stepped out of the car and ran toward my building's entrance, I didn't look back. But when I reached the door, I turned. He was still there, headlights dim, watching me through the windshield with an expression that broke something open inside me. I lifted a hand. He lifted his. Then he drove away, slow and reluctant. I leaned against the door, breath shaky, heart too full. Adrian wasn't just back in my life. He was breaking through every wall I'd built. And for the first time in 6 years, hope didn't feel like a dangerous thing. Felt like a beginning. The next morning felt unreal, as if my entire life had shifted overnight without asking for permission. I woke up earlier than usual, heart pounding with a strange combination of fear and anticipation. The memory of Adrian standing in the rain, breathless and desperate, replayed in my mind like a scene burned into my skin. My phone buzzed. A message. "Adrian, made it home. Text me when you wake up. We need to talk tonight." I stared at the screen, breath catching. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't a command from a powerful boss. It was a plea, a hope, a thread reaching toward me. I typed back with trembling fingers. "I'm awake. I'm here." No more disappeared goodbyes. No more silence. At work, tension wrapped around the office like a fog. People whispered about the storm, about the power outage, about deadlines. But every time I looked up, Adrian was there, watching me from across the room, avoiding me when others were around, studying me when no one was looking. His eyes said everything he couldn't say aloud. By the time evening came, my nerves were coiled so tight I could barely breathe. He appeared beside my desk quietly. "Kai," he said, voice gentle. "Can we talk now?" I nodded. We didn't go to his office. We didn't stay in the building. He led me to a small cafe across the street, warm lights glowing behind rain-speckled windows. It was quiet, almost empty, a place where two people could unravel without an audience. We sat in a booth in the back. Adrian didn't touch his coffee. He just looked at Miral. I looked. "I talked to her," he said finally, voice low. My stomach twisted. "Your mother." He nodded, his hands clenched into fists on the table. "She admitted it." The breath left my lungs. All of it. His voice cracked, barely holding together. "She found the letter I wrote to you that night. The one where I told you I would choose you over any program or school. That I wasn't going anywhere without you." My eyes burned. "You wrote that?" "Yes." He swallowed hard. "I slipped it under your door before sunrise. I was so sure you'd read it before you left for class. I thought we'd spend the entire day talking about our future." Pain spread through my chest like wildfire. "I never saw that letter." His jaw tightened. "Because she took it." Silence slammed between us. Heavy. Shattering. "She replaced it," he whispered. "With her own note. A fake one. One that said I didn't want you anymore. One that pushed you away. And she left another one for you," I said quietly, pretending it was from me. He nodded, eyes closing as if the truth physically hurt him. 6 years, he whispered. "She stole 6 years from us." I didn't know what to say. Nothing would ever undo the time we lost. But hearing the truth finale made my chest feel both heavier and lighter at the same time. Adrian leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice barely steady. "I told her she doesn't get to decide my life anymore, or my future, or who I love." The words hung in the air between us, trembling. Who I love. My pulse stumbled. I wasn't sure I was breathing anymore. He looked at me, eyes bright with something raw and unfiltered. "Kai," I never stopped. My vision blurred. My heart cracked open. Adrian. He shook his head, cutting me off. No, please, let me finish. I nodded, tears threatening. 6 years, he said softly. And not one day passed that I didn't wonder what I did wrong. Why you walked away. What I should have done differently. He exhaled shakily. But now I know we were both victims of someone else's fear. Someone else's control. He reached across the table, hand trembling as it hovered just inches from mine. I'm done letting fear make decisions for me. Something inside me melted, slow and unstoppable. I placed my hand in his. Warm. Familiar, right? His breath hitched, and I saw it. All of it. The love he tried to bury. The pain he carried. The hope he was terrified to admit. Adrian, I whispered, voice shaking. I never stopped loving you either. His lips parted, eyes widening with a softness that made my heart ache. Kai! He didn't pull my hand closer. He didn't rush. He just held it, as if relearning the shape of something he had lost. We sat there for a long moment, a quiet bubble of truth forming around us. The cafe noise faded. The storm outside calmed. The world slowed to the rhythm of two hearts finding each other again. It's not going to be easy, I said gently. I don't want easy, Adrian replied. I want you. A tear slipped down my cheek. He reached out with his free hand and brushed it away, the touch feather-light. Let's start over, he whispered. Not as kids, as who we are now. My voice trembled. What does starting over look like to you? His smile was small, genuine, a little broken but full of hope. It looks like this, he murmured. Talking, listening, making up for time we lost. Going slow if we need to, fast if it feels right, but not running, not hiding. I took a deep breath, then another. Okay, I whispered. Let's start over. Adrian exhaled a breath that sounded like relief and disbelief all at once. Come here, he said softly. I slid out of my side of the booth. He did the same. We met in the middle, sitting too close, his shoulder brushing mine. For a moment we didn't move, just breathed the same air, shared the same space. He turned slightly, studying my face with careful reverence. Then he whispered the question that made my heart tremble. Can I kiss you? Time paused. The world disappeared. Yes, I breathed. His hand cupped my jaw gently, fingers warm against my skin. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. I couldn't. Our lips met soft, trembling, aching, not like teenagers clinging to a first love, but like two men rediscovering something precious, fragile, and deeply meant. The kiss tasted like rain, like forgiveness, like a beginning we were finally allowed to have. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. His voice was a whisper. We're not losing each other again. No, I murmured. We're not. And for the first time in 6 long stolen years, the future didn't feel like something that happened to us. It felt like something we could choose, together. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.